Welcome back. In this week's episode of History Behind the Find, we will discuss a find from our pal Stanley Thorton, a Hillsborough, North Carolina military academy button from the Civil War that he recovered earlier this year, as well as a brief history of North Carolina during the Civil War. The Hillsborough Military Academy was the idea of Moses A. Curtis, at the time the minister of St. Matthew's Church in Hillsborough, and whose son later became a cadet and was killed at the Battle of Bentonville during the Civil War, to ensure the suitable local boys could obtain a decent education, as he felt the opportunity to do so was lacking in the area. In late July 1858, he, Charles Courtney II, and A.S. Gallard searched Hillsborough for a suitable site for a military academy, which would be the Tar Heel Citadel. They located a 40-acre tract 1.5 miles west of Hillsborough, close to the new North Carolina Railroad line, and obtained it for the school site. They engaged architect John A. Kay of Columbia, South Carolina, who had a hand in designing the South Carolina State House, to design the barracks, the Commandant's House, and they would be built by local builders. On September 2nd, 1858, two advertised in the Hillsborough Recorder that the academy would open January 12, 1859. Between the academy's opening and the barracks' completion in September 1860, cadets lived in temporary wooden structures on the academy's grounds or boarded with local families, and classes were held at the Hillsborough Academy. The academy's neo-Gothic barracks was 3 stories high, 215 feet long by 45 feet wide, and able to house 125 cadets, instructors, and classrooms. It was brick with massive turrets flanking a central entrance. Large wooden verandas were built along the rear of the building. It cost $30,000 to build and was completed in September 1860. North Carolina during the Civil War. North Carolina joined the Confederacy on May 20, 1861. It was the second to last state to leave the Union. While 7 states from the Deep South succeeded as a direct result of Abraham Lincoln's election to the presidency, North Carolina joined Virginia, Tennessee, and Arkansas in initially choosing to remain with the Union. After Confederate forces in Charleston, South Carolina, fired on Federal garrison at Fort Sumter in 1861, the state's position changed dramatically. When Lincoln called for 75,000 volunteer soldiers to crush the rebellion of the southern states that had succeeded, North Carolina opted to become one of the 11 states of the Confederacy, rather than fight against its neighboring states. Though the state had officially joined the Confederacy, North Carolinians remained divided on whether to support the Union or Confederate war efforts. From the beginning of the Civil War, several thousand North Carolinians, especially those living in the state's coastal and mountain regions, remained loyal to the United States and resisted the Confederacy's control over the state. At least 10,000 white and an additional 5,000 black North Carolinians joined the Union Army unions and fought against the Confederacy. Due to its geographic location away from major rivers and other strategic objectives, North Carolina saw relatively few significant military campaigns. Until the last year of the war, most military action in the state took place along the Atlantic coast. Disbandment of the Confederacy's last major field army, the Army of the Tennessee, took place when Johnson surrendered to Sherman at Durham Station on April 26, 1865. Despite the lack of major battles in North Carolina, the state's soldiers saw action in all of the Civil War's significant military campaigns. Thanks for watching this week's episode of History Behind the Find. Remember, it's not just what we find, but what we find out.